Hey, how's everybody doing? This is a video I've been meaning to do for a couple days, and I not really felt all that good. And I did screw up. I did do a screenshot of the offending tweet, and I finally found out more about the whole Twitter thing. And I don't know if I had anything to do with this or not, but there were two issues going on. I had my gaming content, and I had my personal channel, and I kept them separate. While I am locked out of my gaming one, they require a phone now. And the only reason I can figure is that, so what I am going to do is I am working on getting a phone. Doesn't have to be necessarily a good one. And it's the only person I'm going to give that number to. So I start getting, and I will do a video on that as soon, when and if I have proof of it. But if I start getting a lot of crank calls on there, then I will be able to report to you that Twitter is allowing people to get your phone number so they can harass you. And that is something I think is a real possibility. The other one is there was an offending tweet, and I want to be completely clear. I am not claiming this is a First Amendment issue. They are a private company, and they have every right to run their policies however they want, and they even have a right, as far as I'm concerned, to selectively enforce them. But what they don't have a right to is immunity from prosecution. Oh, and I want to take a minute here. If you want to help out the channel, I think I'm a lost cause. I'm just going to basically hang in as long as I can. So I'm not asking for any money, but if you want to help out, it's all free. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you can, spread this around on social media and elsewhere. And I do some bird listening, putting videos up of the nature sounds. They're also on the channel. And this is a Dick Sissel. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Dickcissel, and I'm a little immature. The name cracked me up when it's an app you can download for your phone. I think it's on Android and iTunes, but I'm not, or iPhone, but I'm not sure on iPhone. It is an app where you can just set it up and you can have your phone. It's kind of like that one that identifies songs, and it just listens to birds. And when it identifies one, you download the package for your area. And when it hears a song, it tries to identify the bird. Well, and I can't see these. We live in a pretty big yard, and I have no idea if this is really the one, but this is what it's saying it is, or it's the best match. So if you like those kind of things, I have those videos on there. It's, it is what it is. And then if you have any interest in my health issues, I have videos on the channel that will go into that in a little more detail. But I had a copy of it and I just forgot about it. I get lightheaded. This is a normal thing for me. And I just told, but I will be completely honest about it. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. But on my main channel, on my personal channel, they took issue with one of, well, they've done it twice now, but they've taken an issue with some of my posts, and they're, oh, it's against our, and this one here, they didn't even try to tell me what it was. It just, it's, oh, it violates our policies, so you got to get rid of it, or we're going to lock you out of your account until you do. But the thing is, as soon as I deleted it, they let me right back in. Where the other one, which I don't think was any worse than this one. That one there, oh, the minute you delete it, you're on a 12-hour lockout. So I think they're starting to realize that this shit is not floating. And the in a gist of it, the one that happened a couple months ago, somebody asked the question. Somebody asked the question, what do you think should happen to Trump if he's found guilty? And I responded that if he is found guilty of treason, he should be shot. Um, and I might be wrong because I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is the punishment for treason is the death penalty. And the firing squad was made a valid form of the death penalty by Trump while he was in there. And I might be wrong on this, but that's my understanding. And I explained that when I appealed that decision. And and they're like, oh, the appeal stands. We still, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I just responded to it. I'm like, well, I'm really sorry to see you're, sticking up for terrorism, but it's your company. I go, I will just do everything I can to make sure people know what you're up to. And then the next one was, and this one was just recently, this was last week sometime. And they took issue with one where I basically said that, and it was not, it's not like I just jumped on and threw this out there. It was in response to a discussion that they seem to have no problem with on the other side of the equation, because they didn't do a dick about the other guys, because that discussion went on for a while. And you had people on there, and this was before the threats to the IRS came up, but you had people on there that were acting like the person that the cop that shot that girl when she was a mentally deranged veteran, when she was trying to crawl through the door, shot her in the head. Thought, was acting like, oh, well, he shot an innocent person. I mean, we all know they were just there for a tour, right? And they were bitching about that, and it's like, you guys are fucking delusional. And the thing is, even though they were, they're making it look like law enforcement doing their job was somehow the villain here. That's a problem. That is absolutely a problem. That will lead to the next Oklahoma City bombing. That will lead to the next January 6th attack. That will lead to more people storming FBI offices with AR-15s, handguns, or nail guns, as just happened. I believe the nail gun guy had already hit, and I appealed that, and it's the same shit. And this is the part that bothers me. You look at that Republican that put up a video brutally assaulting. It was, they took a video from that anime Attack of the Titan or whatever, that one on. My brother watches it. I don't have anything against it. I just don't watch it. The little bit I've seen of it when he's watching it actually looks pretty good, but that's just not my thing. I'm going to spend a lot of time on. And but he put up a video where it had been altered to where they were just violently murdering AOC. I got treated worse than that fucking clown. You had these delusional fucks that were on there acting like, the cops defending our capital from a terrorist attack. And so I responded after a while, after reasoned argument with these people. Some of them didn't even know that there were other people that died that day. And from what I could see, Twitter wasn't putting up any disclaimers or anything. They weren't putting, oh, this is some delusional shit. These people need medical care. Nothing like that, you know? And their shit was just allowed to stand. And I finally said, I go, hey, look, everybody that broke into the Capitol or stormed the Capitol on January the 6th, they were criminals. And I stated they should be shot or arrested. And that's the one that flagged it. And I'm sure, because this one I didn't get shut down immediately like the first one. So I'm sure some whining shitbag, some delusional fuck is the one that complained about it. But here's the thing. The minute they looked at my comment, they should have looked at all the preceding comments. And if they were going to shut mine down, they should have shut theirs down. Now, they may have done it since then, because I got some news. Well, what I did was, because I had appealed it a couple times, I let them know, because at first, all I could see is that I was being locked out until I gave them a phone number, which I don't really like. Like I said, I'm going to get one. I'm going to see if I get a shitload of harassing phone calls, and I will be able to report to you that regardless of what those calls are, political or otherwise, Twitter is actually selling your information, and it might be it might be detrimental to your safety or well-being, is what I'm thinking. That's what I'm afraid of, and I'm going to try and find out. But what I did was, after that, I couldn't use Twitter because I couldn't get into I couldn't get into my personal account. But I did email the president, and then I copied and pasted into some of the senators. uh, they don't have like an email access, or at least it won't accept it if you're not from their district, then that's fair enough. But in the leadership, when you're talking like Steny Hoyer, when you're talking like Nancy Pelosi does, I don't want to drag her into this, but when you've got these guys that are in the leadership of the party, they should be able, or they should have a separate one. But I will say Bernie Sanders took the email. Nancy Pelosi as speaker, as she should. She did, but Bernie Sanders did. You could reach out to him. But Steny Hoyer and I can't remember the other one. They just won't take the email, and that's fair enough. But if you're in a leadership position, you maybe should. But I reached out to the ones I could, and I copied and pasted it, so they could see it too, because I wanted the Democratic leadership in on this. And I told them, I go, hey, look, this is not a First Amendment issue, but when you look at what they are doing, they need to lose their immunity immediately. Um, Other social networks too, because they're basically setting up the next attack, whether it's going to be a Timothy McVeigh style blowing up a fucking federal building, or it's going to be another nut job with a nail gun or some other weapon running in. And now because of the Republicans, we may even have people running into IRS buildings. What's next? Are they going to start shooting? I did the census for 1 year. Are they going to start doing this so we have census workers shot? I mean, they have to put a cork in this. They absolutely do, and it's getting ridiculous. They got to start holding people accountable. But by the first part is you can take away this immunity, so that the next time there's an attack, and because they did this with this one guy, I think he was on Truth social media, but some of these attackers, you find out after the fact the shit they were putting up on Facebook, Twitter, and all the other sites, they need to lose their immunity. Because if these sites are going to let them, just spew this shit, and it's going to lead to these attacks, well, then these sites need to be able to get the Alex Jones treatment. They need at the very least to be able to be sued into poverty for allowing this. And hopefully most of them will care about the money enough to clean up their shit. Either that, or you got to have government regulations. I think the self-regulating by suing them into the poorhouse would be the best option. I really, really do. And so I hope, but I did, and then I want to say it was the very next day, because I did that early in the day, but it was either the very next day or it was 2 days later. Um, Marjorie Taylor Greene's account got banned permanently from Twitter. There was another guy that was, because again, I was basically in both cases, hey, if he's found guilty of this crime, and I spelled it out, but I was basically asking for him to be held accountable to the punishment for that crime. And in the most recent one, it's like, hey, look, all of these people that stormed the Capitol were terrorists. They were criminals, and they should be shot or arrested. And I tried to point out, but they got that 255 character limit on Twitter. I tried to point out that just with the sheer number of people that they had there on the Capitol that day, there was no way they were going to get arrested. Especially when you've got the president, just not sending any reinforcements. They didn't have anybody standing by in place. That was the only option. And if you look at the video, as horrible as it is, and as horrible as what I'm saying, it's true. As soon as they shot her in the head, and she was DRT, dead right there, the other one stopped trying to break into the building. And if you go back and you look at the videos of where they were piling in, statistically, if you look into this stuff, the facts behind this, the psychology, what we know from past events, if when those people started piling in the doors, if they would have opened fire and started shooting them for breaking in, for smashing the windows, for coming in with weapons, and they already knew. We know, thanks to Liz Cheney and the others on the January 6th committee. Thank you for doing it, Nancy Pelosi, for putting that committee together. We know that law enforcement, others knew they were armed. We knew we now know that the president knew they were armed, because he was telling his people to take away the magnetometers so they could come in for his rally. And then he planned on walking with these armed insurgents down to the fucking Capitol. We know that. If they would have shot at every exit as they came in, the vast majority of them would have quit, surrendered, or fled. And you would have been dealing with much more. You would not have had to shoot everybody. This would not have been a Tiananmen Square moment. The minute you started shooting them, and you can look at some of the movies they've done, like when they did, and it's supposed to be based on real events. It's Hollywooded a bit, but Wyatt Earp in some of those movies, the one played by Kurt Russell, just walked up to the big mouthpiece, the one that was fueling them all, put a gun right to his head, and he said, "You're gonna stop. Well, you shoot me, they're gonna get, yeah, they will, but not before I turn your head into a fucking canoe." And this is what we're dealing with. And you saw, and that it was a theatrical representation of what we know. But if they would have shot the right people when they were coming in, really, any of them would have been okay. But if they would have shot them, 90% roughly, 80-90% would have fled. You would have been dealing with smaller and smaller numbers. The vice president's life would have been probably not at risk, and a whole host of other things would have instantly got better. You wouldn't have had to clean the feces and the piss off the floor and the walls. They wouldn't have damaged and violated, because that thing would have probably been over before it started. You go back to Obama, when they had those terrorists that took over the not the Nakatomi building, yippee ki motherfucker, but when you had those guys take over that federal wildlife preserve, they dicked around. They dicked around for weeks, if not months. And finally, when they decided to arrest him, from what they were reporting, and it was the same thing. Oh, they lied. He didn't have a gun. He didn't do this. They didn't do that. Well, some of the video that came out, it kind of backed up what the FBI was saying. This guy acted like he was pulling out a gun. They fucking gunned him down, and they arrested one. They were immediately able to arrest everybody else that was with him. And back at the compound, all but 4 or 5 of them fled. Some of them fled in such a hurry that they left behind their weapons, and they left behind thousands of dollars in weapons and equipment, and they fled. They got the hell out of there. And you know, we gotta get serious with this. I don't know if we're gonna survive the next January 6th. I really don't, but we gotta get serious with this stuff.